to everyone. Yes, aš trumpai noriu pasakyti, pristatysiu dabar anglų kalba ir šitas pranešimas bus anglų kalba. And I would like to introduce the next speaker, Leendert van Delft. He is represented DHL Express, and he is Vice President Sales Programs, Digital Marketing, Global and Europe. So we will exciting for your presentation, really. And please enjoy us with good news and what we should do during COVID-19 in e-commerce.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what my presentation is about. Let me share my
thank
screen.
You. And now is your time. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And now comes the line which was used most in 2020, and that is, can you see my screen as well?
Well, it's okay. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I tried to follow a little bit the previous presenter, although my Lithuanian is not that good, I must say. So it was a little bit difficult to follow for me personally. But I saw a lot of big percentages in the presentation as well. And for me, that's also showing how things are changing. And that's what my presentation is about. And what I would like to say always is that COVID-19 brought 2030 to 2020 or to 2021 from an e-commerce perspective, that is. And in the presentation, I will explain a bit what that is about. But before we start, I actually thought it was nice. Normally, when you are at an event, you can have a lot of interaction with the audience, etc. Now in this virtual way, it's a little bit more difficult, but I'm still going to try to do it because I will try to start with a little quiz. Just 2 questions. I have no prizes, but let's agree that once you've seen the right answer, just scream it out loud in your living room. And if you have other people in your living room, they can join with you. So gather in front of the screen and let's start. So first question is a little bit to test your knowledge about e-commerce. So last Black Friday in 2020, 12% of all online consumers during Black Friday are they 1, male online shoppers? Are they B, over the age of 65? Are those C, millennials? Or were they D, drunk? I give you 2 seconds to think about it. Now scream out the right answer. And yes, indeed, drunk is the right answer. It was an official research which has proven that 12% of all shoppers during Black Friday, they were actually under the influence of alcohol, like this lady here on the screen, while they're hitting the online stores. So if you get it right, you are on to the next round. So the next round, so there's the second question, 31% of millennials and Generation Xers, and we saw the explanation of those categories in the earlier presentation. They have made an online purchase from, was that A, from Amazon, B, from social media, so directly from Instagram or Facebook, C, from another country or abroad, so cross-border, or D, from the toilet? Again, scream out the right answer. I hope you're screaming out loud now in your living room and that you're screaming out loud the toilet, because that's indeed the correct answer. So millennials are 5 times more likely versus baby boomers that they've made an online purchase from the bathroom. Also, this is former research. I'm not making this up. But what this is showing is people are online all the time and people are online everywhere. And that is also what we mean when we say COVID-19 brought 2030 to 2020, because everything was already moving gradually online, but due to the pandemic, that suddenly went exponential. And today, I would also like to state that e-commerce is de-commerce. We heard in the earlier presentation as well, like pick up in store, etc. But there will always be an e-commerce element involved. And that's also not a trend which is like only here during the pandemic and then it will get back. No, expectation is that that trend is here to stay. Here you can see some details of how big suddenly the internet became and how big e-commerce suddenly became. Because what you see here on the slide is e-commerce website traffic. And of course, there's logically the peak in November and December during the holiday season, what you see here. But if you then look at May and June of last year, the volumes were way above peak 2019. And 2019 was already back then like the biggest phase e-commerce ever seen. But in the pandemic, suddenly those numbers went up even further. Also, what you could see and what you can see here on the slide is if you look at the share of e-commerce versus overall retail sales, there was this gradual trend which was happening, let's say, since 2012, even a bit earlier, of course, but slowly more and more purchases were being done online. Suddenly the pandemic hits us and that line went through the roof, and the percentages also went through the roof. And again, this is not something temporary, but this is something what is here to stay. But if you want to speak to all those consumers, you really have to keep a few things in mind. And in this presentation, I want to give you a few practical tips about what you can do, what you can think about in order to speak to the needs of today's consumer. To show that this growth is not something only for this year and then will fade away. If you look at the research right now about, and this is purely about cross-border e-commerce. I mean, we're not talking about domestic e-commerce, but purely cross-border e-commerce. Back in 2015, the estimation was that approximately $300 billion was spent on cross-border e-commerce. Back then, the expectation was that in 2020, that number would grow to 900 billion. So back then, it was already a huge number, like 3 times the size. Like cross-border e-commerce would triple in size. However, if you look now at the actual numbers, the estimation of 2020, the official figures are not known yet, but estimation of 2020 that instead of 900 billion, that number is 1.2 trillion. So 1.2 trillion is being spent on cross-border e-commerce. So people shopping online, but buying something from another country. If we then look how that trend is predicted to growth until 2026, again, it will quadruple in size. It will not only triple in size what we thought in 2015, but it will now quadruple in size till 2026. And estimations is that the overall value of the cross-border e-commerce market is 4.8 trillion. So think about that when you start selling online. Now, what I always like to say is think big, think niche, or go home. You need to think big and you need to think global. You need to think outside of your borders if you really want to tap into that potential. And I actually want to share one personal example to really show how e-commerce has exploded, so to say, and that's the trend which is here to stay. And I want to show this via, it's quite personal because here you see a screenshot of my WhatsApp group with my family. So my father is in there, my mother is in there, my brother and my sister and myself. We are all in this WhatsApp group. And this is really showing how COVID-19 really is the greatest digital accelerant of the century. Because one day, it's not that long ago actually, it's a couple of weeks ago, I received this message. It was a message sent by my mother. My mother's name is Hanneke. It's a difficult Dutch name to pronounce. And she sent a picture of my father. And my father was holding some clothes in his hands. And below there, it was saying, Leo, it's the name of my father, for the first time in his life, he bought clothes online. My father is 74 years young. And my mother was also saying, and by the way, it is fitting perfectly. So he was happy, my mother was happy, everybody was happy. Of course, I asked a question. So I said, yes, very nice, but just a question. So are you going to do it now more often? My father replied within a second, yes, of course. And please rest assured, it was delivered by DHL. So for me, this is really an example that people who were also not online pre-pandemic, they're also now online and they're also shopping online. And again, we saw a lot of percentages in the previous presentation. I will not talk through all these numbers on this slide right here, but one which I wanted to highlight is also the importance of shipping and delivery. But you can see here, 84% of shoppers, they are unlikely to ever shop with a brand again after a poor delivery experience. Because it's not the case that the customer experience is over the moment the consumer clicks buy now on a website. In most cases, that is when the real customer experience starts. The same research was also showing that 98% of consumers are stating that delivery is impacting their brand loyalty. So do it well and you can build a lot of loyal customers. Get it wrong and you can lose a lot of first-time customers. So also keep that in mind, and I will give a few examples what you can do with those insights. So if you look now post-pandemic, and this was all something was happening already in 2020, is of course it brought a lot of uncertainty, and that uncertainty is reflected in consumers as well. So what consumers have in their mind when they have to shop online and when they start shopping online, they have a few basic questions in mind. An example, okay, is this merchant open for business? Are they going to fulfill my order? Will it be delivered within the usual delivery times, or will it be delivered late? So what about the health and safety issues regarding shipping? So those are all questions which people have in their mind. And that is something you need to answer before people buy actually something in your store. It's not that you only have to prove this with a successful delivery. No, this is all about proactive communication to your customers to answer these questions which they have in their heads. And to give some very simple tips, we have listed 10 tips how you can build trust through transparency and through clear communication with a global audience. Because again, these questions, it's regardless of where the consumer is sitting, they will have these questions in their heads, and you need to answer them, and you need to answer them proactively. I will not talk through all of them, but I will give a few examples what you need to think about. So an example, clearly communicate any impact of COVID-19 on your homepage. So not somewhere in the footer of your website, not somewhere only in the checkout, but on your homepage, clearly mention what is happening. Here you can see an example. Website is clearly stating their shipping options already on their homepage, which is already a very good best practice. And they also have a very clear link to a note of, in this case, the company's president about COVID-19. And again, people want to have those answers. Is it business as usual? Is it not business as usual? And if it's not business as usual, be clear about that. If there are delays, tell them about delays. If order fulfillment takes 1 or 2 days longer than normal because of COVID-19, tell them. There's nothing wrong with telling them, but there's a lot wrong with not telling them and then having it result in a bad consumer experience afterwards. It's also good that if you have a website, that you have a detailed COVID-19 FAQ page where you just list some of the basic questions. And of course, it's an FAQ. So it's also a lot of answers needs to be listed on there. Another example, also your shipping options should also address COVID-19. We saw it in the key questions which a consumer has in their mind when they're now shopping online is, okay, how are delivery times impacted? And again, people understand that during these times that delivery can take longer and that delivery is not always happening within 24 hours. But you need to be clear of that on front in order to have that positive experience. So also near your shipping options, also clearly communicate any expected shipping delays if they might apply. And here on the right, again, you see an example. So this was a website, they're offering 2 shipping options: international shipping arriving by May 1st, which is, let's say, the standard shipping option. And they have a fast recommended shipping option, and which is arriving in this case was within 24 hours. However, they had a mention there as well saying, hey, due to public health concerns surrounding COVID-19, our shipping providers may be experiencing delays 1 to 2 days in your regions. We apologize for any inconvenience. As long as the consumer has this clarity upfront, they will accept it. If you do not give that clarity and you promise to deliver within 1 day, of course, your customer service lines will ring after 24 hours, people saying, hey, where's my parcel? Where's my order? If you mentioned upfront something like this, people are understanding it. So also think about that when you're setting up your shipping options. Also important, let your customers know you are actually using a reliable and flexible logistics partner. Because when it comes to delivery preferences, also a lot has changed during the pandemic. And of course, we as DHL, we know that as no other, delivering more than 1 million shipments per day all over the world. And those numbers grew also exponentially during the pandemic. So we see a lot what consumers are choosing as their delivery options. One which suddenly became, let's say, the most popular delivery option is that so-called no contact delivery. Because in a lot of cases, when there is a delivery, you need to receive the parcel from a courier, you need to take their scanner, you need to sign on the scanner, etc. That is why we activated a non-contact delivery option in order to give the consumer the option to already sign online for their shipment. So when the courier comes, they ring the doorbell, they nicely put the box there, they say, okay, thank you, everything is arranged, and they go back. So there's no human contact at all. So also think about those things when you're choosing a reliable shipping partner, and make sure that they provide all these options. Also, that they provide flexible delivery options. Give your consumer the choice how they want their shipment to be delivered. But perhaps they want to pick it up in a store or in a service point. Perhaps they want to be delivered at their neighbors or something. But this is all about giving your consumers a choice and making sure that they can tailor the delivery according to their needs. And this is again showing that importance of shipping and delivery options in the consumer experience. 97% of consumers, they will say that they will continue to shop with a retailer if they deliver a positive delivery experience. And 4 in 5 consumers, they want to receive information regarding the progress of their delivery. And I have that experience myself. I'm now also sitting at home, working from home. And yes, I order a lot of online, which is part of my job, which is actually quite nice to do, of course. But the moment a merchant is not keeping me updated about the delivery, I get anxious. I get, okay, what happened with my shipment? Is it coming? Is it not coming? Did I now lose my money? What's happening, etc.? And consumers want to be kept informed about the delivery. Is the order dispatched? Is it shipped? Can I have an easy track and trace link to see where it is? When is it delivered? Will it be delivered in the morning or in the evening, etc.? And this is all about keeping customers informed. What this company did here on the right side of this phone, on the iPhone, was also something nice, because of course things can go wrong, especially when it comes to delivery. It's a difficult operation, it's not easy, and things can happen there. What this company is doing is every time there is a delivery complaint, they send a tiny gift after the fact. So they send a tiny gift to the consumer saying, guys, I'm sorry, something went wrong with the delivery, we apologize. And it costs a couple of euros, doesn't cost that much, but the effect on it is so positive, because this was one of their consumers who was actually here on social media, in this case on LinkedIn, complimenting this company like, oh, what an amazing customer experience, while actually the complete order went wrong. So the order went wrong, delivery went wrong, but by giving this small gesture after the fact, you can also turn around that customer experience. And here also people are even then complimenting, saying, wow, this is amazing, more companies should do that, etc. So also think a bit creative when it comes to your customer experience. Last part is what we always like to say, there's nothing basic about the basics. Because what I've shown you here is all about how can you speak to your consumer, how can you create that trust on the back of the pandemic and on the back of COVID-19. But there are a lot of more simple and basic things you should think about in order to speak to the cross-border consumer. And we saw the opportunities in cross-border e-commerce. Numbers are going through the roof. If you're today not selling internationally, please rethink your business model and start to sell internationally, because that is where the opportunities are. But there are a few things you also need to do if you want to speak to a consumer who's sitting outside of your borders. Because what research is showing is that also in this area, so this is even unrelated to COVID-19, but people want to have clarity. People want to feel at home on their website. So they want to feel, okay, does this feel comfortable? Does this feel reliable? Can I pay with my local preferred shipping options? Is the website available in local languages, etc.? And what about shipping and delivery options? And one percentage I would always like to explain is the one on the top left. 91% of consumers, they look for the available delivery options before reaching the checkout. And think about it for yourself. When you're ordering online, what are you doing? Are you only looking at the nice picture? Are you only looking at the product description? Are you only looking at the price? No, in most cases, you're thinking, okay, yeah, product looks good, price looks good. What about delivery? When will it be delivered? Is that 2 weeks from now? Can I have it tomorrow? So again, those are the questions which people all the time have in their heads, and you need to answer them on your website. And the earlier you can answer them, the better. And also here, we created a list, which is something we called the website health check, which is, again, a simple 10-point checklist. We always like to communicate in 10-point checklist, which are there to advise you and consult you what you can do on your website to be as open as possible for the cross-border consumer. So here I also want to name a few. I will zoom into, do you sell internationally and do you offer an express delivery option? But also here the second one, let me get some water. Also here the second one, do you state your shipping options on your homepage and mention that you sell internationally? Again, when I end up on a website, first thing I think is, do they deliver to the Netherlands? I live in Maastricht in the Netherlands, so if I go to a website in another country, I have that question. And this is also something you can answer very simple by putting a banner on your homepage saying, yes, we sell internationally, and yes, we ship next day, and yes, we offer free shipping over orders of $150 US, an example, whatever the number is. So Be proactive on that and don't hide that information somewhere on your website. And if you talk about, let's say, your shipping options, also here it is, give your customers the choice. Don't offer only a standard delivery option within 3, 5, or 7 days and offer that free of charge, an example, but give your consumers the choice to also choose a fast express delivery option. And also do not only offer that fast express delivery option, but again, this is about giving your customer the choice. And here also research is saying that 35% of consumers, they actually place a premium on experience and convenience when it comes to delivery, which means that they are willing to pay for that. Because of course, express shipping is more expensive for you as a merchant versus putting something in the mail, an example. But here also, if you give them the choice, you will be amazed what consumers actually pick. And also a good thing is about giving them the choice is if somebody is shopping online, in a lot of cases, they will have this question in their head saying, do I really need this product? Yes or no? That's the question they have in their head. However, if in the checkout, you give them multiple delivery options and you ask them, do you want the product within 5 days or do you want the next day? So then the question changes in the consumer's head from, okay, do I need this product? Yes or no? The question changes to, when do I want this product? Do I want this product in 2 days, or do I want this product the next day, or do I want this product in 5 days? So also when it comes to conversion rate, there's a very positive effect here. Last part is about think global. And don't think just about the obvious countries. Because of course you can think about, yes, we sell to Germany, or yes, we sell to the UK. But the world is bigger than Germany and the UK, and the world is bigger than the US and the US and China, an example. Here you can see a few examples of numbers in countries which may not be the first obvious countries to go to when you start selling internationally. But look at the numbers, an example. Canada, 18 million people shopping online, 67% is buying cross-border. Poland, 40 million people online, 54% is selling cross-border. Israel, 4 million people online. You might think, okay, is that attractive? Well, 82% of them are buying goods cross-border. So think about the countries you're selling to, and again, think big, think global, because that is where the real money is. So in closing, if I have to give you, let's say, 5 takeaways, what you can take away from this presentation, number 1 is definitely the pandemic will leave lasting changes. Like there is no new normal, no, there's a new difference, or there's a new better, or however you like to call it. Because this is something, it's going to have an enormous impact on consumers, it's going to have an enormous impact on the economy. But if you get it right, the opportunities are really big. Second point is people who are new to online shopping in 2020, take my father as an example. So think about my father when you're telling about this fact to somebody. They have now experienced the ease and convenience of shipping online, and most likely, and not most likely, definitely they will retain that behavior. Third point, understand the importance of shipping and delivery options. It's not about only the right price. It's not about only the right picture, but it's really about shipping and delivery, which can make or break the customer experience. Then think big and think global. I think I mentioned it a couple of times now. The stage is global. The stage is outside of your country. So think about that when you start selling cross-border as well. And last point, which I think is summing up this whole presentation, it is all about clear communication, communication, communication. If you get that right, then you can really strengthen the trust between your customers or even your potential customers, and make sure that you're really set up for success for the future. So in closing, what I really like to say is, people talk about now, oh, we had this e-commerce boom in 2020. No, I think we're only at the start. This is just the beginning, and the world is changing very rapidly now. But the fact that it's changing very, very rapidly comes with a lot of opportunities if you get it right. So I would say good luck and go for it.
Thank you. It was really finished.
Yes.
Thank you. We're grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences, especially with your dad, how we're changing and how the world is changing. So I have the questions for you. But really was interesting to look at what consumers looking for Yes, it was evident some. And my question really, what do you think changed the most in the consumer behavior? I mean, during a shopping? What's the main point? I mean, they are shopping before and they're shopping now, but what's the most changes happened?
I think what the most changes is the uncertainty which consumers have. Before, people were trusting e-commerce blindly, almost blindly. So they were going online, buying something, click buy now, and they were like, okay, the rest will happen automatically. But I think pandemic brought a lot of uncertainty in that area. So where consumers before had less questions, let's say after they bought a product or while they were buying a product, today they have a lot more questions when buying a product. And you can answer them again by that proactive communication on your website. So I think that is one of the things which changed most. One other thing, if I can give two answers to that question, is also if you look at what people are buying. And if you look at popular product categories, an example, yeah, we all seen the changes, how people are now buying fitness equipment. I also got a new standing desk delivered at home yesterday, etc. Like people are buying different goods right now than they were buying online before. So also that when you're selling online, do your analysis and do your research about what are the popular product categories. Does that fit my store? And can I offer that to customers?
Wow, nice. And one more question for the participants, attendees. Thanks for great insights. I have a question regarding small one-man business with limited funds and shipping resources. What should you do if your shipping options, say National Post Office, are basically out of your control? What if it affects customer satisfaction, but I cannot really do anything?
I do not agree with that statement because I think there is something you can do. Because yes, you can think, yeah, my only delivery options is bringing something to the post and shipping it from there. But if you look at, let's say, all the express carriers out there, and DHL being one of them, yeah, we are more than happy to pick up 1 box or 2 boxes or 3 boxes per day. So the quantity is not the issue. Then, of course, you can think about, yeah, but I cannot afford those shipping prices. But this is not about yourself covering the shipping cost. This is about let the consumer pay for the shipping cost. So give you one very simple example in 20 seconds. If you're currently shipping by post and you pay €5 to ship a parcel, an example. If you're currently absorbing those €5, what you can think about is if you offer express shipping, think about the rate a carrier will offer you, let's say €20 an example, or €25, then deduct that €5 which you're paying anyway, and then offer that fast and express shipping option or international shipping option for the difference and say, hey, we ship internationally, you need to pay €15. And you'll be amazed how many consumers will actually think, yeah, okay, yeah, I pay for that. Or that consumers will even think that, okay, I was planning to spend €50 on this website. I can see I can have it next day for €15 extra. Well, let me buy a few more products. Let me put something else in my basket because that shipping price is per order. And we have seen a lot of case studies where also the average basket value went up, an example. So think about how to charge shipping costs to your consumer.
Wow, it's so nice. So thank you so much. It's really interesting. So have a good day and thank you one more time.
You're welcome and have a great event over there. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you.